Hello and welcome back to the next part in Object Check. Today I'm going to start with part 5 and we're talking about tuplets. So let's see how we can create tuplets in Sibelius 6. I want to imitate what I already created here before, so you can see how we're doing this. So the first thing we do is to create the first node. In a way we would always do it when inserting nodes. So let's assume this is empty and we select the bar and we create the first 8 nodes. Now we select the first node and we play the C on the keyboard, and from here we can either go to create tuplets and then choose the kind of tuplet we want, in this kind 3 in a group, or we can just use the shortcut on your keyboard, and that is Command 3. And I advise to use these command keys because it's going much faster than working with the menus. So now we have this little bracket here with the number. We type the next 2 notes on your keyboard, C sharp and D, and we hit escape to go out of this mode, node enter mode. So this is our first tuplet. Let's try to make this one here. So first again we select where we want to start the tuplet, then we play the first E. We select the first value that we want from the keyboard here, and then we play the first note, E, and then we can again go to create tablet, type a 5 here, or use the keyboard shortcut Command 5, and I'm doing this, and then just play the rest of the notes. So F sharp, G sharp, hit escape 2 times. And then let's go to the next one. So again we start with selecting the value of the first note. In this case it's the 16th note. We select the first one. We play the first one on your keyboard, C, and then why not, let's do it this time with create tuplet menu. So we want to have a 7 in the group. Accept 7, hit OK, and then we play the rest of the notes. C sharp, D, E flat, E, F sharp. It's as easy as that. And the last one, this time it's going to be 32 notes in a group. So first we select the 32 value. It's selected. We play the first note, C, and this time again I'm using my keyboard shortcut. So Command 9, and I play the rest of the notes. And really this is all that is to it. This is how you create tuplets in Sibelius. Well, what if you want to have a tablet that has more than 9? We don't have a Command 10 possibility on your keyboard. So what you do then is you use the menu that we already saw before. So first let's start with selecting a value, selecting the first one, play the first note, and now I want to have 10 in my group. So I go to create tuplet and I type here 10 in this group and hit OK. And now we can just play the rest of the notes. And there you are. Now you have 10 in a group. So this is the easiest part. You can change a lot of settings under the hood in Sibelius, so to speak, to create the look of the tablet, and that's what we are going to look for now. Sibelius positions the tuplets according to the settings in house style engraving rules. House style engraving rules, and then we go to the tuplets section, and in this part here, in this panel here, you can see the tuplets position on nodes. So we have different options on where we can position the tuplets on the nodes, and this first option here, position the tuplets as if all nodes are being together, is Sibelius default setting, and it will place the tuplets according to traditional engraving rules, and this setting is also recommended by the Sibelius reference. So the next option, to position the tuplets relative to the first nodes, is a much more flexible option, because now you can really put your own settings, and if you work for a publisher with certain wishes on when and how and where to place the the brackets and the numbers, you will have to go to this part here. So you can exactly tell Sibelius how to position everything and which rules to follow. Now let's see what the other engraving rules are doing. So let's see what results we get when we choose one of these options. So for the positions with bracket, as you can see, all these tuplets have brackets, so we will repeat the results immediately. Let's first select above. As you can see, these here have actually the bracket on the beam side, or the stem end side it's called, stem end side. Stem end and head end, so stem head side. So let's see what happens when we have the brackets above. And as you can see, these flipped immediately to the position above. Let's check the other one. Position with bracket below relative to the first node. Below. And all of them go down except the one with the rests, and that's also it sits relative to the first node. Now there is no node here, so it just positions on, yeah, who knows what kind of reason. But let's say we make a node here, and then it should be flipped down immediately. If we play a node here, and there you go, immediately it flips down. So, and the same will happen here, I'm pretty sure. Now it's above, and now with the node, it positions on the relative to the first node of the group, so it flips down immediately. Now let's see where it goes when we take the next option, head end and stem end. So head end in this case means on the end of the head, the node head, and stem end means at the end of the stems. So these are the stems. So if I choose this one, the head end, if everything goes correctly, everything should be flipped to the head end, and most of it is already flipped to the head end, not this one. So this one will flip there, this one will flip up there. So let's see what happens. And exactly it does exactly what I thought it was going to do. Something went a little bit weird here. So let's do it one more time. This was a little bit chaotic. So we go to house style, engraving rules, tuplets, and put them on the head end. So keep an eye on these ones here. And now they flip up. There you go. And let's go to the next option. So stem end. So the positions with the brackets should go to the stem end. So pretty much everything should be flipped to the other side the moment I do this. So this is called the stem end. And there we go. And everything flips up. So maybe we can just like this. Now let's have a look at the next section, and that is position without bracket. So what we can do here is tell Sibelius where to position a tuplet without bracket. In other words, only the number. Do we place it above the nodes? Do we place it below? Do we place it at the head end? So these are the head ends. Or do we place it at the stem end? So these are the stem ends. And there is a little bit different, although sometimes it's a little bit hard to see the difference, but let's see. So we need to have tuplets without a bracket first, so let's create them by turning off the tuplets, and we can do that here. Let's close this a little bit. When we go to Window Properties, we go all the way to the Node section. Let me close this a little bit, create some more space. These are at the Node section, tuplets. We can choose the number, how to display it, and the bracket. No brackets, bracket, auto bracket. So in this case, bracket is selected because these don't have bracket. But let's turn off the brackets. Now we only see the number. Sorry, we see only the number. So as you could see, the number jumps immediately above the staff, or on the upper side, I should say. So let's go to house style, engraving rules, and tuplets again. And now we can see it clearly what's going on here. Positions with auto bracket. These two here, they jump. We want to have them above, so that's also what happened. That's why they jumped up. Now let's turn them to below. So when I hit OK now, these numbers should go below the staff, and they jumped immediately below. There you go. Now let's go to the next option, engraving rules, tuplets. Now let's say I want the positions without a bracket on the head end, so that should be here. This is the head, so this is the head end. So the number should jump up again, and there you go, it jumps up again. And let's go to the last option, positions without bracket. I want to have them at the stem end, so in this case they should jump down again then. Let's see. And this is exactly what happens. Now the difference here is, for example, if I would flip the beam to the other side, as you can see clearly, the number always stays at the stem end. If I would say stem end, I always want to have the number or the tablet without bracket on the head end. That means on this end here. And now let's flip it, and as you can see, it always stays at the head end. Here it even stays a bit outside the staff, and that's because we checked another rule. But for this, let's see, as you can see, it always stays at the head end. Let's go back to engraving rules tuplets, and now we put it below. It will always stay below, no matter if you flip it yes or no, below the staff. You see, always below the staff. And now let's put it to above position without bracket, and it will always stay above the staff, no matter how we flip it. And the reason now I will show you also why it stays outside the staff is because in the next option here, panel, vertical distance from the nodes, we checked the avoid staff checkbox. So let's uncheck it and see what happens. And as you can see, everything went down a little bit, but let's flip this node group. Oh, and we have to put it in engraving rules. Put it always on the, let's say, always on the head end, so it will always go here. And because we uncheck this one, avoid staff, it will even go inside the staff, as you will see. Okay, and there you go, it's inside the staff. So it avoids the staff because this one was check by default, avoid staff. So that is how you work with the position without bracket and position with bracket. Now another option in engraving rules for the tablet is that you can select rotate single digits. The angle of the double digits, it says you also tablets with several digits, so more than one, will always follow the bracket's angle, and the angle, for example, goes up to the right here, and the number is following the angle. However, you can choose for single digits if they have to do the same. So right now it's not selected, so let's see how it looks now. And if I change the angle of the bracket, the number always stays in the same position. It doesn't change the angle. But if I would go into engraving rules and I select rotate single digits and do OK, as you can see now the angle changes from the bracket. It goes accordingly to the bracket. Now I'm not sure if I would like it like this, so personally I like to keep this section off. So the single digit is always horizontal like this. But it's good to know that you have this option. Now there is another option that I want to show you, and that is in the engraving rules again. Auto bracket. It says here auto hide the bracket when the nodes are joined by a secondary beam. So it means that if I check this one and I would join the nodes by a secondary beam, so I would connect these two groups with the secondary beam, and this is a secondary beam in your keypad. You can see you can connect the different beams here. This is a secondary beam, start secondary beam. So let's go here. We start a secondary beam, and this looks really weird, so we didn't wrong. Secondary beam. Now they are connected by a secondary beam, the two groups. So we have one condition fulfilled. Still it doesn't do it, so why? Hide the bracket when the nodes are joined by a secondary beam, auto bracket. So and this is only for the auto brackets, this rule. So it means that this is still a normal bracket, as you can see here. So we have to create an auto bracket out of it. And as you can see, now the brackets are gone. So now we have the condition that we are using auto brackets in the properties, and in the engraving rules we selected this outer bracket condition, so these two always go together in the engraving rules and in the properties window. Plus there has to be a secondary beam that connects the two groups, and then that when all those conditions are fulfilled, the bracket will be hidden. So as you can see, there is no bracket, there are only numbers. This is something I always like to have on this option. And the moment you can also see, let's check it for a moment, when it turned it into a normal bracket, the brackets are back again. So this really has to be an outer bracket to make this rule work. So this is something I always like to turn on, to keep on, and because it's already clear that it is a tuplet here and tuplet here, and because of this extra secondary beam. So another thing I want to show you is how you can adjust the distance between the tuplets and the beam, or the stem end, I think it's called, and the tuplets, and between the tuplets and the node heads. So, and to make this really clear, let's take it out of the way first. I want to set in engraving rules everything first to the stem end. So all the tuplets are on the stem end now. When I click OK, there you are. Everything is on the stem end now. And now let's see how we can change this distance here. So between the tuplets and the stem end. So for this, of course, we go to engraving rules, tuplets, and vertical distance from the nodes. Another word between the tuplets and the stem, or articulation. So between the stem. So let's first change this. I already made it a little bit higher, so you can see this distance here. Right now it's set to 1, but let's set it to 2 to see a really big difference. So let's hit OK, and as you can see, the tuplet jumps up a lot. So this is the stem end. Let's go back to engraving rules, and let's set it to the original. I think it was 0.25. This is Sibelius default. So this is a quarter now. So let's see, this should be much less now the moment I hit OK. So let's hit OK, and there you go. Now it's much smaller. Personally, I like to have it even different. I like to have it closer even. Instead of 25, I'm going to put it to 0.5, and of course going higher. I had a different, I think my setting was 0.2, so it's just a little bit closer. I even want to have it a little bit closer for my own feeling. 0.2, maybe 0.1, 0.5 or something. No, 0.1. So like this, I like it a little bit closer. So this is for when it comes to the distance between the tuplet and the stem end. And now let's look how we can change the distance between the tuplet and the node end. So to make this really clear, I'm going to put the positions with and without bracket on the head ends. And now we're going to talk about this setting here. The spaces from the node head or articulations till the tuplet. So first let's put them all on the node end. So now everything is on the node head end, all the tuplets. And we talk about this distance here now, these distances. And yeah, I have to change another setting because now everything is automatically outside the staff. But let's change this for a moment. Avoid staff. Let's uncheck this. And now we have the real distance even inside the staff. So let's see how we can change this distance here. We go to engraving rules and we change, right now it's 0.5 spaces from the node head or articulations to the tuplet. And I like to have it a little bit closer. Let's change it to, for example, 1. To keep an eye on this distance here. And now it's closer, much closer. So this is how you change that distance. And of course, well, actually I see a lot of publications who have the bracket inside the staff line. So this is not so weird to see like this really. But some publishers really want to have it outside the staff, so it keeps a clearer image. So then it becomes like this. So this is how you change the vertical distance between the tablet and the notes. So the next distance that we can set the values for is the horizontal distance. And now we talk about the horizontal distance between the left side of the bracket and the note head on the first note, or you can have the stem end of the first note, and then you have to talk about the distance between the left side of the bracket and the stem of the first note. So there's a difference. It depends how the notes are flipped up or down. So you can talk. So there's a distance between between the left side of the bracket and the first note head, and the left side of the bracket and the first note of the stem end. So let's make this difference first. Let's make some changes there so you can see how it changes. Let's go to engraving rules and horizontal distance from notes. So right now it's set to 0 spaces from the stem of first note. So in this case we're talking about the stem of the first note. And we're talking about this distance here. So let's make it to, for example, 2. And we hit OK. And now it's only the stem, the distance between the bracket and the stem of the first note changed, not the note. So let's go back to engraving rule, and let's now make a change here as well. So now we make it have a spaces of 2 spaces, a distance of 2 spaces between the left side bracket and the head of the first note. So this only changes this one and not this one. And there you go. Oh, it changes immediately. It's not a very nice distance, but it shows at least what it does. So let's go back to engraving rules, set it back to 0, and now it flips back again. So let's do the same for the last note in the group. So then we talk about the right side of the bracket and the stem of the last note, and the right side bracket and the note of the last group. So we talk about this distance here, and we talk about this distance here. This distance here. Stem and the note. So let's put them back to the default positions, which is 0, and we're going to change it now. So in the horizontal distance from the notes, we make again 2 spaces from the stem of the last note. So the stem and the bracket. And now only this part changes, not this part, because this would be the head of the first note, head of the last note, sorry. 2 spaces from the head of last note, the head. So if I hit OK now, this distance will change. And of course this is far too much, so let's bring it back to 0, the defaults, because Sibelius knows best. And now everything is back again to normal. So this is how you change the horizontal positions between the bracket, begin and end, and the first and last note, stem and heads. Now earlier we talked about the possibility to set the angle of the number, and right now it's set to horizontal. And you can do the same actually with the bracket of the tablet, and as you can see all the tablets are set horizontal as well right now. And it is because this is set like this, to behave like this in the edit line, house style, edit lines, and we go to tablets in the staff line section, tablet, edit, and from here it is set to horizontal. So that means all the tablet brackets will be noted as horizontal, placed horizontal. And sometimes this is not so nice because there's a big difference, a big distance between the note itself and the bracket. So I like to keep it unchecked, so it will never be horizontal, but always instead follow the angle of the beam. And the moment I click OK here, all the angles of the brackets will change. And they are. This is much better. I like it much more like this. So I like, but it's good to know that you can change this setting and to keep it always horizontal, because some publishers really like to have it like that. And there is still a big distance here, and that is because the tuplet is set to avoid the staff lines, and we saw that before also. Here set to avoid staff. So if I uncheck this, this will probably go there all the way up, and now it's set like this. This is not a bad situation really, and like I said before, if you check a score, especially piano score like Scriabin, Chopin, all those romantical composers, they have a lot. They use a lot of tuplets in their music, and you see this notation all the time. It's never really outside the staff; it's always inside the staff. So this is how you set the angle of the brackets.